A developer working on a pair of new Jasper housing projects remains confident the city's TIF district won't cost the county big bucks. More on that. Plus, tomorrow marks National Manufacturing Day at WJTS, and Kelly Partenheimer discusses an upcoming pulmonary fibrosis car show tonight on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin with the developer for a pair of Jasper housing developments expressing his confidence that the city's TIF district won't have much impact on the projects from a county revenue standpoint. Of course, Pete Schweigrad of Miller Valentine told the DuBois County Council earlier this week about the projects. These projects are phase 2 of the JOFCO workforce housing effort, which would add up to 40 additional units, and planned senior housing to be built in the former Jasper Wood Products building. Schweigrad asked for $200,000 in all, $100,000 for each project. He told the council that it would be a small price to pay for millions of dollars in local investment. The council decided to table the issue until October over TIF concerns. Schweigrad says he understands the concerns about TIF, but these projects will get currently unused properties back on the city's tax rolls.
We have not used that with any of our projects thus far. It could be a source that is utilized as part of the city's local incentives. But ultimately, again, these buildings right now are valued very low, generate very little tax base to the community. By bringing them online, we will reinvesting and repositioning them at a substantially higher value, which will generate new increment into tax base.
Of course, Jasper's TIF district was originally approved early this year. The district covers about 1/3 of the entire city and 90% of its industrial space. Jasper Mayor Terry Seitz pushed hard for TIF, arguing it was necessary for economic development. However, members of the county council raised concerns about it in light of a study done by Ball State economist Dr. Michael Hicks. Hicks's study found that although TIF districts do generate funds for cities to use for other purposes not related to budgets, using them heavily often leads to higher tax rates in areas not covered by the TIF. County Council President Greg Kendall previously expressed his concerns about city budgeting along with taxes. He stated TIF is not necessarily bad, but Jasper officials needed to be careful how they move forward with it. Kendall also pointed out that county budget constraints could become a bigger problem if TIF does not work out for Jasper. Now, Miller Valentine officials announced their new housing projects at last week's regular Jasper City Council meeting, and in the end, Schweigrad says the projects came about because the firm found a greater need for local housing.
Well, the reality is the demand's here. There's need in the market for substantially more than what phase 1 is going to create. We wanted to further that momentum, and the reality is just doing 67 units in this area doesn't turn the tides. We need a project that's going to have a substantial impact on this area so that it can continue to be revitalized and reinvested in.
Schweigrad says once other funding sources are secured, Miller Valentine will be applying for state housing tax credits to help with project funding. Those tax credits are usually awarded in March of each year. Tomorrow marks a special day for manufacturing that will be celebrated both locally and all across the country. Vincennes University Jasper campus will be hosting National Manufacturing Day at the Center for Technology, Innovation, and Manufacturing on campus. The celebration runs from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. tomorrow, and just announced this morning will feature an appearance by Department of Workforce Development Commissioner Steve Braun from 11 to 1. Now, a total of 7 schools from the area will bring students in every hour and a half throughout the day. The event aims to inform students and the community as a whole about world-class products that are made here locally. Officials say many people, especially students, are not aware of the diversity of local products that are made and then distributed to companies all over the world. Officials are expecting more than 300 students to show up, and there will be 12 local manufacturers represented through the event. For more information, you can contact Ray Niehaus at the Center for Technology, Innovation, and Manufacturing by calling 812-482-3177. You can also email rniehaus@vinu.edu. Well, Du Bois County is not alone when it comes to finding qualified applicants to fill jobs, according to state officials. The nationwide skills gap and talent shortage issues are being felt all across Indiana as Hoosier job recruiters are struggling. That's Good HR's Amber Crosby says the issue really began cropping up across the state last spring. Crosby says they see many job applicants who have college degrees, yet they don't have the appropriate skills to enter booming fields like IT, healthcare, accounting, and finance. Crosby says they often have upwards of 65 positions that remain unfilled each month. Of course, Du Bois County has the state's lowest unemployment rate of 3% as of August, further complicating the problem of filling jobs locally. Earlier this year, local educators brought out the idea of internships as a way to help close the skills gap. Forest Park High School principal Jim Mailing has spent more than 30 years in education and is a big proponent of internships. He says internships would be part of a change in approach that will be needed at the high school level to help students get more prepared both for college and for the real world.
My own thoughts on that is that we really have to find ways, especially in the summertime, to do these internships. I think that's the secret to having true internships. As we currently have them in schools, we're probably more of job shadowing than we are actually being interns, but there's a lot of value to just the job shadowing also. So I don't want to boo-hoo that piece of it, but if we really want to make them true internships, I think we're going to have to get those things pushed out into the summertime with employers.
The internship idea has been echoed by state officials, including State Department of Workforce Development Commissioner Steve Braun. During a visit to Du Bois County earlier this year, Braun stated his department is working to find out what types of skills that Indiana companies are looking for in applicants.
Once we have that information, everybody that's in the education and training communities, including ourselves where we train the unemployed, better be very focused on training the right skills that result in employment.
Meanwhile, Crosby says her company is now telling employers that people with the skills they need aren't out there at the moment, though they are exploring training possibilities. Crosby says many businesses are now attempting new hiring practices and are relying more heavily on specialty recruiters to help fill unique positions. Officials at Westgate Crane say yesterday's annual college fair turned out to be a huge success. More than 800 students from 12 high schools across 5 counties attended the college fair. There were also additional individual groups and homeschooled students who were in attendance. Now, Westgate at Crane says 35 colleges and universities in all registered for the event. They came from across Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky. Of course, the college fair also featured a scholarship giveaway, and the scholarships, which are in honor of Chuck Lasota, were funded by the Running for Our Future 5K event. This year's 5K raised $3,000 for scholarships. There were 3 scholarship winners. Clay Reynolds of Shakamack High School took home a $500 scholarship. Jessa Newby from North Davies Junior-Senior High School won $1,000. And Alex Stuffel, also of North Davies, won a $1,500 scholarship. The third annual fair attracted more students, high schools, colleges, and universities, and scholarship money than ever before. In a news release, fair organizer Alexandria Jackson says she's really happy to be able to put this event together for area students. She says there isn't really a better opportunity for students to learn more from these colleges and universities in one place at one time. The event began at 9 o'clock yesterday morning and ran through 11 o'clock, with scholarships being awarded at 10 a.m. Some of the colleges and universities on hand included Rose-Hulman, Marian University, and the University of Southern Indiana. Indiana University's president and his wife have pledged $1 million to endow 2 professorships at the school. Michael McRobbie and Lori Burns McRobbie made the announcement yesterday. The money will create a new professorship in computer engineering at IU's Department of Intelligent Systems Engineering in the School of Informatics and Computing. It will also pay for a professorship in Global Strategic Studies in the School of Global and International Studies. The professorships are part of IU's $2.5 billion fundraising campaign called For All, the Indiana University Bicentennial Campaign. The McRobbies previously have made contributions to the school, which have funded several endowed scholarships, fellowships, and other awards. And finally tonight, speaking of IU, the university's School of Medicine is getting a federal grant worth up to $46.4 million in an effort to help physicians reduce costs and improve patient care. The university will use the funding to create a system of coaches embedded in medical practices to advise doctors. Dr. Malaz Bustani, the grant's principal investigator, says coaches can include nurses, social workers, and hospital administrators. Bustani says he hopes to reach 11,500 clinicians across Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan over 4 years. The university is among 39 schools, medical group practices, healthcare centers, and organizations sharing in $685 million in funding from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Efforts by other recipients include reducing unneeded medical tests and improving mental health screening and treatment. IU is heading up a consortium of 8 Midwest institutions. All right, coming up after the break, a cool down is on the way and a preview of the Pulmonary Fibrosis Car Show on Inform. We're back after this.